PropaUgandan, 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 PropaUgandan podcast. PropaUgandan, 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 PropaUgandan podcast.
Good.
Yeah, I think sometimes you just need to stop and start again. So
Yeah.
okay. So welcome everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Proper Ugandan podcast with Kalungi and the K. Today we've got an incredible guest. I've made this introduction 3 times because I don't know, just I guess Corona doesn't want us to succeed or whatever the powers that be. But we're not gonna stop. We're gonna keep going. And today I've got an incredible guest, an amazing guest that I've been really looking forward to speaking to. Her name is Michaela Blackburn, and she's an actress and a singer as well, actually. So she has a really unique story when it comes to just life in general, but also when it pertains to being Ugandan. And I'm gonna let her tell you that story. But first, let's get the social media out the way so you guys can write it down. You can start following. So my Instagram is at king_Kalungi, and my Twitter is Kalungi_. And of course, the Twitter and Instagram for this podcast is at Proper Podcast, with proper spelled as PROPA podcast. Michaela, do you want to tell people your Instagram just straight away, and then we can talk about everything else after?
Of course. So on Instagram, my actor page is Michaela_Blackburn. And on Twitter, it's Michaela_LB. And then, do you want my other one as well? My other.
Yeah, everything.
So I also started a new account during lockdown, and that's called Becoming Michaela, and that's becoming.Michaela on Instagram.
Okay, brilliant. And we're going to talk about the Becoming Michaela as well, because that's a very inspiring page and inspiring new project that you've started. But first, I like to ask this question, and I've tried to be consistent with it, but you might have a different answer to this. But when was the first time that you felt like a proper Ugandan? And have you ever felt like a proper Ugandan?
It probably quite recently, actually. It was when I started to do the play. So my first play was Our Lady of Kibeho, and it was in Northampton first, and then it was in London. And I met 2 girls in the play called Rima and Pepta, and they're fellow Ugandans. And I kind of I'm half Jamaican and half Ugandan, so that's how I always introduce myself. But I'm 2nd generation Jamaican and 1st generation Ugandan. But when I met them, it was so interesting because I actually have never met girls my age who are Ugandan, because of my past and my dad's story coming from Uganda. So I've actually never met anyone my age who I can relate to. I've actually never met many Ugandans, so it was a big thing for me. I was like, wow. And they accepted me as Ugandan, and I was like, this is crazy. And then they started introducing me to people as Ugandan, and I was just like, I've never had this before. So that was really nice. And then some awkward things when people were like, because I don't know, I don't speak any language fluently, so people would start speaking to me in like Luganda, is that?
Yeah, Luganda, yeah.
And I would be like, no. I think you did it as well, actually.
I did.
And I was like, oh.
I remember the first time we met. I came to see the play, Our Lady of Kibeho, and because I was speaking to obviously Pepta, and then I met Rima as well, and I just assumed that straight away me, and I think I asked you, are you Ugandan? And I just thought, okay, she's Ugandan, let's start speaking in Uganda. And then I got a big shock. He's like, I am Ugandan, but I don't speak it. But it's really interesting because I've had to kind of get out of this kind of habit of assuming that just because someone's from Uganda that they speak Luganda, because there are many languages in Uganda, and we learned on the episode with Babirie that there's about 43 languages in Uganda spoken in Uganda. So, you know, you're gonna find people that if they are in Uganda, especially in the Buganda region, you know, in Kampala, they will be able to speak Luganda, or they've had to learn to speak Luganda, but just to not assume that everyone speaks Luganda. So yes, I learned a valuable lesson. But what's really interesting about that play actually is that it was set in Rwanda, and it was about, I guess you can tell me more about this, but it was about this true story of these young girls who, you know, very religious, I guess they were Catholics, and they ended up pretty much predicting, or they saw a vision that the Rwandan genocide was about to take place. So tell us a little bit about that play, who wrote it, you know, and how also you ended up being in the play, because that was your first play straight out of drama school. Yeah.
So actually, I'll talk about how I got into it first. So I actually went to Northamptonshire Youth Theatre at the Royal and Durngate, because I live in this. I live in Wellingborough, so my mum's based, and Northampton is the town nearby. And I went to the youth theatre there. And my mum also works at the Royal and Durngate Theatre. She's the HR director. And the artistic director, James, had said about Our Lady of Cabejo. And my mum actually mentioned it to him, because obviously I just graduated, and it was it was perfect for me. And it was about Rwanda, and it was obviously East African. So I was like super interested straight away. And then my agent, James, got in contact with my agent, and then I came in for audition, and then that was it. The ball was rolling from there, and that was my first job out of drama school. And then it transferred to Stratford, and that was my second job. So amazing.
Man. And also it's worth mentioning as well that your first job out of drama school, and you guys get nominated for an Olivier Award. Like, come on, that was just, I mean, obviously it was meant to be, because it must have been a mad experience. How did you feel like when you saw that, hey, Our Lady of Kibeho, show that you've just done fresh out of drama school, has been nominated for an Olivier Award, which is one of the biggest, it's the Oscars of the theatre world in the UK, the BAFTAs of the theatre world.
Honestly, it was a dream come true, and I was just in absolute shock. I had to like keep pinching myself, like, wait, is this actually? Let me just check again. I kept to like check the nomination to see it was there, and it was a pic, one of the pictures that had all of us girls in it, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's actually like actually there. So it was absolutely crazy, and obviously in the group chat it was popping on. Everyone was like, what is going on? Like it's such an amazing experience, but I'm so happy that it was my first job, and I feel like I was like, oh, peaks performance. I was like, this is amazing, but I was like, I've literally gone all the way up.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to start. I mean, I don't really see it as peaking, because, you know, that means you have that level, that standard where you want to maintain that, and there's no way but up from then on. So it's good to start. It's good to start up. What's really good as well about that play is that, well, there's loads of good things about it, but the Guardian newspaper actually voted it as one of the best plays of the past decade. You know, they had 50 plays, and it was voted one of the best plays of the past decade. And when I saw that, I was like, when it comes to Stratford East, I have to see it. And I went and I saw it. I saw it 2 times. And first time I think I was in the second tier, and then second time I was in the stalls, but a bit further away. And both times, like, I was physically moved by just not only the acting and the story, but just, you know, I guess the history attached to that, of course, came about, but like just how brilliantly put together the production was. And all of you, like every single one of you actresses, like did such a great job, and the singing was incredible. And, you know, both times it felt like I was seeing it for the first time. And it was amazing. It's such an amazing show. And I would have loved to see it actually further into London. Obviously now Corona Mr. Brooker, but it would have been good to see it come further into London because Stratford East is a mission. It's like going
Yeah,
to
far, man.
yeah.
I used to travel an hour and a bit each day to get from my house to the performance.
Yeah, you might as well be going to Kibeho itself. But
Yeah.
yeah. but yeah, so that's your first, that was your first show, and you trained at the London College of Music, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, which tells me obviously, did you go there to do musical theatre or did you go there to study to be a musician?
So I auditioned for musical theatre because that's what I had done at college. I did performing arts, but then I actually got into the acting course. And so I was like, do you know what? I'm going to accept it. And I'm so glad I did. Like, I'm so glad I did. Because I really honed my acting skills. And also my course leader did musical theatre. He was a musical theatre head of year before at Rose Bruford. So when he came to us, he incorporated singing into the acting course more. Okay. So we had this extra skill that we were learning alongside all of our acting lessons, and people. I actually found I was a singer anyway. My whole family sings, but my confidence came from being at the London College of Music. We had great teachers who really brought out our voices and gave us that confidence, and that was already inside us, really.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's really brilliant. Well, I went to drama school as well, and it was the past few weeks, with the kind of emergence or resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement has been kind of, inspiring people to hold some of their organizational industries or past drama schools and whatever institution they were attached to hold them accountable for their own kind of mistreatment of their Black staff members or Black students. And I don't know, for you being at this college, like without kind of fishing for your, any gossip or any tea, but like, was there ever a time where you felt like you were being treated different to your white counterparts? And did you have an experience that's kind of been shared by some of us like Black drama school alumni?
Yeah, obviously my experience, I always am thankful for it because I grew from my experience at drama school. But it wasn't perfect. There was lots of things that could have made my experience better for being a Black student. Like, for instance, we didn't have any full-time Black teachers or tutors. Most of the masterclasses were from white males or females. So that's something we were really missing. And there was only a few of us in my year, trying to think, about 4 of us who were Black, and 2 girls, 2 boys, really. And we actually, our course leader just set up a Zoom meeting for us last week to kind of discuss our experiences at drama school and kind of how we felt and what could be done better, and just to really not expose, but just express what we actually felt while we were there. And then on to a board meeting with the whole of London College of Music to kind of discuss those topics to try and get some change. Because there was times in the classroom where things were said. Me and my friends used to always go, "Oh, that's casual racism." That's what we used to call it, because it was so sly in the classroom that it just you picked up on it, but you didn't want to say anything because you didn't want to be the one always bringing up or putting up the race card, as it's called. And other people just stay quiet. Not many people would speak up about it if it was wrong. So there's a lot there. I think you get used to it as well sometimes, which is really bad, but you kind of like desensitize yourself to it because it just becomes so like normal, if that makes sense. Like that's like your everyday experience. But we told our course leader, like, look, this is what happened, this is what needs to change. Casting needs to be more plays that are have more Black characters, not just one Black character. So then when you audition, that's all you know you're gonna get, because only that one character. A few of us Black girls all played like the same characters when we did like scenes. So we all played Saint Monica in, you know, the Last Days of Judas
The Last Days
Iscariot.
of Judas Iscariot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We all did
that's
that as a scene study. It's
yeah.
an amazing play. But all the black girls played Saint Monica, so we didn't actually
Wow.
have a choice. We all
That's
just played her.
that's really interesting because we did that play as it was the first show that we did in the final year, and I remember thinking this is a strange play for the school to choose because it's first of all the original production that Stephen Adley Gurgis had written. He workshopped it with a pretty diverse cast, like it in his I guess the Labyrinth Theatre in New York. So it was made up of so many different people who originated these roles. You know, Saint Monica was clearly originated by a black actress, and you know, you see certain roles. For example, I think Stephen McKinley Henderson. I hope I'm not saying his name. I'm saying his name right, but he originated, for example, Pilot, and you can tell in the writing and the way they were speaking that these were characters that were, you know, originated by non-white actors. But when our school decided to do it, especially for our year where there were only two black actors, and one, you know, an Asian actress, when they decided to do that, I was thinking that's a bit strange because it's it's at odds with the makeup of the cast, the makeup of the group. So much so that, you know, Monica, who's clearly written for a black actress, was played by a white actress. And you could tell how weird and how not quite right it sounded for this actress to be saying these words and in the rhythm and the kind of like just the syntax of some of the words just didn't sit right. And sometimes I would sit there and I'll be trying to tell them the part because our teacher used to do this thing where we go around and we stress certain words and say, you know, how the sentence should be said. And there were certain phrases where you go, yeah, you're not saying it right because culturally you don't understand why they're saying that. You're stressing the wrong word because you're used to stressing that word, but you don't know that African Americans stress different kind of words for particular reasons. And yeah, like that's really interesting you bring that up because I did notice that in my drama school they would either just kind of blindly, you know, say, oh yeah, it's a free for all, anyone can play whatever role they want, or we would be kind of forced to, me and the other black actor, we'd be forced to just find our own stuff, and you know, we'd be the ones who almost like leading the training. You know, we're training ourselves in some situations, some cases. But yeah, that's really interesting. So, did you like, have you found that some of the students in your year have at least the white students have now kind of been getting in touch and apologizing for, you know, keeping silent?
I mean, a lot of them, obviously, with the recent events, have been showing solidarity and speaking up and stuff. And sometimes I felt a bit awkward about it because I know how some of them treated me or said certain things. And at first I felt a type of way about it. I was like, I don't know if this is genuine. Like, are you really for me? Because I don't remember you being for me back then. You know what I mean? But then I kind of went, maybe they've changed. I haven't seen them in a long time, like a lot of them. So maybe people have changed, people have grown. It could be they may have educated themselves now. But I wait to see after this, like, it's not a trend anymore, to see whether they're still going to be speaking up, and see if in situations where there's a racist situation, if they're going to be too uncomfortable to speak up, or will they actually speak up? Like, for me, the assessment will be after this it's not hashtag that's trending anymore, to see whether those people who really said this, that they'd speak up for me will. That's and that's a testament to it. But yeah, at first I felt a bit awkward about them hashtag Black Lives Matter, or some of them really speaking up, and I was like, I was like, I don't doing that.
I end up kind of thinking the time where it would have been really, really helpful. Not to say you put a time limit on this, but like a time where it would have really been helpful to show that you as an ally was the time when, you know, you were going through it, when you know, you were in class and you heard something and I said something, but you didn't say anything against that person, or to, you know, to kind of like in my defense, whatever. So I feel like right now it's safe. It's the safe thing to do, to be behind your keyboard or your phone and send a message
Mm.
and a hashtag. And the difficult work that we were doing in classrooms, trying to, you know, speak up against these, I guess, casual racism. And I hate that phrase as well, casual racism.
I know, I hate it too.
Yeah.
It was the only way to explain it, because it just happened so like slyly. I was just like, what is this?
Yeah, it can't really be casual, because then it makes it less than it actually is. It's like, oh, it's a little bit of casual racism, a little racial banter, you know. But yeah, so that's I guess that's what's been happening in the news. And by the time I guess this episode comes out, maybe it will still be in the news, or still be a hashtag that's trending. But yeah, so okay, so let's get back on talking about your career. So after finishing uh drama school, you go straight into Our Lady of Kibeho. And
Yeah.
while doing that, because it's set around an East African country, and obviously Uganda, you know, borders Rwanda, that was the time you were saying that you felt most Ugandan, because you met, you know, other Ugandan actors and, you know, fellow Ugandan, younger Ugandans that you'd never really been in
Yeah.
contact with. So was there ever a time where, I don't know, you started kind of revisiting some of your past connections to Uganda, and thinking, oh, you know, I wish I'd made that connection? And could you also tell people as well, once you answer that, could you also tell us your connection with Uganda, like, and how come you've been disconnected from Uganda for such a long time?
Yeah, absolutely. So after obviously was in the play, I still am good friends with Pepta and Rima. So for me, I feel like I'm living my Ugandan self through them, because I still speak to them. It's still in conversation. Also, I remember Carnival after I'd done Kabeho. Was it after Kabeho? I'm trying to think. No, yeah, it would have been. So it would have been Carnival 2019. And I usually have my Jamaican flag. But this time, I brought my Ugandan flag. And I had that round me.
Yeah.
And I have a picture on Instagram actually with my Ugandan flag. And because I was like, I realised the year before at Carnival, I was like, because they shouted out like, also like, African brothers and sisters, wave your flags. And I was like, I don't have mine.
Yeah.
And I was like, it just hit me, and I was like, next year I am repping Uganda. So I bought a Ugandan flag, and that was what I wore to Carnival that year. So it's just a continuance of finding out more about Uganda, and trying to connect myself to that culture. And also speaking to my dad more about it, because he's never really spoken about it in much detail for his upbringing, because he doesn't really know much either. But he on his like Facebook, he has he's from Nairobi, Kenya, because that's where my dad grew up, in Kenya. So let me tell you the story, because otherwise I'm just skipping bits here.
No, take your time. Yeah.
So my dad is adopted by a white Englishman called, I call him Babu Dougal. And
Oh, you call him what?
Babu Dougal.
Babu Dougal. What does that mean? Is that his name, or?
Grandad. So Babu is Grandad, Dougal. I think it's Swahili.
Okay.
And then my Nanya Miriam. So Nanya is grandma, Swahili. And he was adopted by them. So his biological parents, my biological granddad was a low level like government official in the reign of Idi Amin. And I actually found out recently that my granddad and my adopted granddad and my biological granddad were actually friends at university. And then my dad kind of feared for my granddad kind of feared for his life during the reign of Idi Amin, and he asked my granddad if he could look after my dad. And And then, from what I know, he died under the regime of Idi Amin. So my dad was then orphaned, and I don't really know much about my grandma. No one's really said what happened to her, or whether she was around. I literally don't know anything about her, to be fair. I only know about my granddad, really. So my dad was adopted, and he lived in Kenya. So he was brought up in Kenya, and my granddad, who was white British, was an English literature teacher at university and at schools. And then my dad moved over to England. And if you meet my dad, he doesn't sound Ugandan or Kenyan. He just sounds proper British, proper, like, yeah, a proper geezer. So for me, my dad didn't never really talked about it growing up very much. It's actually only recently my dad's starting to really talk to us about it. Because he actually wasn't told he's adopted until he was 16.
Oh my God.
He thought he was mixed race until he was 16.
Wow. And did he look like traditionally mixed race?
Not really, because my auntie, she's also adopted. Now she looks mixed race, so she looks like she could be from my granddad, who's white British, and my grandma, who's Kenyan. She looks like she could be mixed. My dad, not really, but he always used to ask questions. He always, in his head, he always had questions like, "Am I adopted?" He didn't really know. People would say stuff at school, but he never really spoke to his parents about it. When he first asked his mum, she said he wasn't. And then when he asked his sister, she said, yes, he was. And then he asked his dad, and he was like, yes, you are.
Man.
Yeah, so it's a mad story. But yeah, basically he found out when he was 16, and he always says he just felt like his world just fell apart when he found out, because like his whole identity, or who he thought he wasn't who he was. Obviously he was him, but his past, he didn't. And he used to have nightmares as well, and they were connected. They seemed connected to his life before he was orphaned. They're quite traumatic. I won't go into detail, but they're quite traumatic dreams. But then when he found out this, it started to make sense why these dreams were happening. And when he found it stopped, he's like, "Oh, that makes sense. Why I'm having these like terror like dreams of my past." Because it's a blank. What I describes it as blankness. Like there's nothing there. He doesn't remember that time. He was, I think he was 2 when he was orphaned, and then I think 4 when he adopted. It's even I don't even know. He doesn't really know the specific dates, but he was very young, so you're not going to remember much. He just has these nightmares.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a really deep story. But yeah, and that's why I'm disconnected. That's why I don't read. There's lots of secrets that have been kept, and I'm not sure what it is. And part of me is like, maybe it's because it's quite traumatic. Maybe the truth is just, it's just so bad. I always wonder why my Nana Miriam, and she was a very strong woman, and she had to give up. They had to sacrifice a lot to take in my dad, I think. So there's not that now. Both my Baba Dougal and my Nana Miriam passed away, so they're the only people really who could give us the information that we want, or answer the questions that we have. So my mission really, once I have my own place, and sort of I don't know, of my future, I see myself going back to Uganda and finding out my roots and really doing my research, because there's so many questions like I have to ask about my identity.
And have you been to Uganda before?
So no, I've only been to Kenya, because
Okay.
my dad grew up in Kenya, so I've been to Kenya. But that hasn't really been back to Uganda. He was born in Kampala.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But he's never been back. I think for a long time, my dad was just kind of like, I'm happy with the family that I have. I didn't really want to find out about his biological parents. It's not until more recently that he's got into that and wants to find out, and he has these burning questions. He's probably had them all his life, but right now is when he wants to ask them. So I definitely think the next few years I'll be definitely wanting to I would definitely will be going to Uganda to find out a lot, because my dad knows it where his orphanage is. He knows where that is, so I have a starting point.
It does sound like, obviously, you know, aside from it being a great way for your dad to find out a bit more about himself, but it's also like a good play idea for yourself to find out, like an in for you to be able to find out a little more about your journey. So it could be like you and your dad, you know, going on this journey, or you going on this identity journey via your dad, and the more your dad finds out, the more you find out. So that's that's such a strong and, you know, powerful, and obviously, you know, sad story to hear, you know, because me, you know, I've never really had this major, I guess, complicated relationship with Uganda, where I didn't know, you know, I know my grandparents, and, you know, I'm sure if I was to go back to the village, I'll be able to ask, you know, and I'll be able to know my grandparents, and so on and so forth. But sometimes I never stop to think and go, you know, there are people that don't have that. There are, you know, there are people who were born in Uganda, and obviously during Amin's reign had to leave Uganda, you know, because they feared for their lives, and through that they kind of left their history behind, so they had to go off and restart in other parts of Africa or other parts of the world, and you end up finding out that actually Ugandans are connected in so many different parts of the world, and everybody has their own unique story. Because like I never would have known that when I contacted you, like, and you told me that, and you were a bit apprehensive about whether you thought you could like come on the podcast, but I think it's actually a really, really good story for, you know, people to hear and people to know that there is no such thing as, and that's why I created this podcast, there is no such thing as a proper Ugandan. You know, I created the Proper Ugandan to have that conversation, to have a conversation and celebration around Ugandan culture and Ugandan identity. And your story kind of gives us that, it's evidence of the fact that there's so many complexities around Ugandan identity, you know, and there shouldn't be hard and fast rules about, well, if you speak this language, that makes you Ugandan, or if you were born there, that makes you Ugandan. Because that story you're telling me with your dad is obviously, it's an interesting story, and, you know, but he still wants to search his Ugandan identity. He's still connected to Uganda somehow, even though he hasn't been there for a long time. That's interesting. Okay, cool. Wow. Okay, well, let's talk. Speaking of identity, let's talk about your new project that you created through the lockdown and the quarantine, which is again another really necessary but also interesting project. Becoming Michaela. Like, how did that come about, and why did it come about?
So during lockdown, I kind of lost my job because I recently changed jobs, and I work at a theatre. I work at actually the Royal Doing Theatre at the moment. I'm furloughed at the moment. So I've obviously, the theatres aren't open yet. Obviously my acting career is kind of, everyone's acting career is just stopped while Rona's here. And I was kind of like, what do I do? Like, I was like fidgeting for like a week, and I was like, and I've always wanted to start like sharing my self-love journey, but I've never had the time. So I was like, well, coronavirus has given me the time, so I'm going to utilize that. And I bought an online course by Patricia Bright. It's about creating like an online business, creating on brand awareness. It's all created around those topics, and how to be like an influencer in inverted commas, because that's a very loose word, but how to kind of monetize, or how to use your individuality, and how to market that as well. and everyone's always interested in my story when I talk about it. And I went on a massive self-love journey from when I was about 16 till still going on now. I wasn't, as a young Black female, I wasn't always happy with myself, especially because I had dark complexion. Growing up, obviously, I didn't really see myself represented much in the media. I grew up in a mostly white school. I was sometimes like the only Black girl in my class. And yeah, it just, and also there was colorism that was massive, especially on like the internet. The dark skin versus light skin hashtag, it happened like years ago. I remember sometimes some people in my family would be like, "Oh, I'm lighter than you," or little jokes like that. And I just started to not like myself. And I remember being at school and this girl next to me used to go, "Oh, that's a great colour, but you're too dark." Like, and she was like, she wasn't even that much lighter than me, but she was a shade lighter. So she thought that then she could say those things to make herself feel better. So she was obviously insecure as well. So I used to get like every single day. She'd sit next to me every single day. I'd be like, "Oh, that's too dark for you." So I was always, I'm too dark. And I remember I got to a point in my life where I was like looking in the mirror and I used to just cry. I was like, I used to pray and be like, "God, just can I wake up and just have lighter skin, please?" I used to be like a prayer, like a nightly prayer for me. And I hated my hair. I relaxed my hair when I was about 13, because I wanted straight hair like my friends. All my friends were white because they were all that's what I had at school. And then I had this massive, massive afro, but I never saw myself represented. So I was like, it's not beautiful. So I decided to chemically relax my hair. And then I got to about 16 and I went to college and I was like, that's it. I can't be depressed anymore. I can't hate myself like this. Like, I'm only 16. Like, how can I be this depressed about my own skin and my own hair? And I just completed a whole 360. And I started to teach myself how to love myself. I started eating really healthily. I did it through exercise. I cut all my hair off and started again with my natural hair. And I went on this massive, massive journey. And I just feel like I want to inspire other girls just like me. I want to inspire other women, other Black women, and especially dark-skinned Black females who have the struggles that I know it's still happening now. There's young girls still going through that process. So yeah, that's why I created Becoming Michaela, to share that. And especially my little sister, she has an afro, and she says sometimes with her mum, she's mixed race, but she has a full-on afro. She says, "Mum, I just want like straight hair." Or she would come back and say, "Mum, my teacher complimented my friend on her hair, but she didn't say anything about my hair."
Wow.
And
Wow.
it's just so sad. And when I hear that, I'm like, I don't want her to go through what I had to go through. If I can stop that, that will be my main goal. And my stepmom always reads out my posts to my little sister to make sure she's hearing it and she's seeing it, because it's mainly for her. Because I don't want her to go through that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I obviously it's difficult to follow that because my experience as a dude is obviously completely different in regards to my identity, because we're going through different things, but there are parallels with like what you just said, and myself growing up as my own identity, like, albeit for different reasons and also with different results, but immediately I'm reminded when I was young and I used to wish I had curly mixed race hair, and I used to put decks in my hair, and that was the dude version of, I guess, relaxing your hair so it can be less kinky, can be less African, and we'll put the decks in there. And I used to get excited and jokingly say to my younger brother that, "Hey, look, I'm mixed race now, and it used to be a badge of honor, having, I guess, lighter skin with the curly hair. And you know, that being celebrated at school, and you know, the S curl. I remember I went through the S curl phase, you know, phase rather, and also again, I'm reminded as well, like how much we also the colorism, how we contribute to uh, other people's self-hate of themselves, you know, how things we say, you know, as family members or friends. And you know, my sisters recently told me that me and my brother, we said something terrible to one of our friends who was dark skinned. And you know, whilst we're here kind of like um trying to, I guess, call for the cancelling of everyone else who's jumping on the woke bandwagon, we also forget that when we were younger, more specifically, maybe myself, we also had a lot of this kind of self-hate, colorist, um, um, you know, internal hatred that we had, and we, you know, projected that onto other people. And I was kind of shocked. I was like, because I thought I'd made that journey, that self-love journey, you know, the past 2 years, and I was reminded, my sister reminded me, hey, you and you know, and so I'm not going to say everyone knows my brother, but you and so, you know, said this to my friend, and we were like, what? That doesn't sound like something we could say, well, but we probably did say it because we were all lost in that source of, you know, thinking light is best, and you know, cussing dark skinned people and cussing each other's hair and whatever. So this is such a great page and great kind of initiative to have and great business to have, because you know, hopefully it counters all the madness that's going on within people's homes as well, you know. So if a young girl, a young black girl's, you know, older brother or cousin is saying something bad about their skin and their hair, and hopefully they come across becoming Michaela on Instagram, and immediately they counters that, and they start feeling good about themselves. So I don't want to really make this about me, because it's what sometimes we tend to do. But I just want to hear more about I guess the becoming Michaela, and how you plan to kind of share this story. Like, are you going to use videos? Are you going to use, you know, photos? I saw a really, really good post that you put up because it launched on the 3rd of June, and you put up this beautiful post that reminded me of my childhood. But like you said, the only black character you saw on Disney Channel was on That's So Raven, and there was Raven's mum. And I remember that character. And again, the actress, I think, is called Chris. Her first name is Crystal. She was in Living Color. But I remember that character as well. Like she always stood out. She always stood out for the right reasons, of course, but she always stood out. And that post was really, really interesting, because you know, you had someone to look forward to look up to, but you didn't have that many people. And you said you only saw first Disney princess at the age of 13, and that shouldn't be the case. And so tell us about, like, you know, watching these TV shows, and how, you know, how you feel maybe moving forward we can try to find a way to counter those TV shows and go, I'm not going to just take my, I guess, take the lead of how I should view myself through TV.
Yeah, I think like Disney Channel for me was a massive thing, because I used to watch it religiously after school. Like I would watch every single program. So, and obviously like all the programs, Wizard of Waverly Place, Hannah Montana, they were all like all white females that I saw, especially all with straight hair, and there was never, and obviously Raven's mum was the only character, but she wasn't my age. Like she wasn't a young girl. Raven obviously was black as well, but she was quite fair skinned. So for me, I felt a bit of a disconnect there, because it was still like I wanted to see someone who looked like me, and also I don't know. I think nowadays we have like things like YouTube and Netflix, which are bigger. So for children now, I think there's more variety of things to watch. And it's still very whitewashed. Some of the TV I watch with my like I have quite a few young siblings. So I watch TV with them, and I'm like, it's still pretty whitewashed now. There are some presenters on stuff who are black, but it's still predominantly white. And also just apart from media, like dolls. All my dolls when I was growing up had straight hair. All the play dolls obviously with their hair. But so my stepmom brought my sister some dark skinned dolls with afro hair, and I would have loved that if that was around when I was younger. I think that's so powerful. And my sister said, "Hey, look, someone looks like you," and I just my heart just welled up. Like, look, they have this one me, you. Like they have afros, and it's just seeing the light up in her eyes, seeing herself represented, was just amazing. And it makes such a big difference. I kind of forgot the question you asked me now. I think I went off topic a bit.
Well, yeah, like you did answer it, because you said, the TV, at least the streaming services, they're a lot bigger. So, you do get shows from other parts of the world, like, say, for example, I'm adding this, but for example, Blood and Water from South Africa, or Queen Sono. So, but at the same time, overall, there are still whitewashed, presenters, and so you get the occasion or whatever. But I guess my question was, how do you think we can kind of like we can counter that without, or at least where else can we get this fair representation of black people, especially in particular in this case black women, or people black women that young black girls can look up to? Where else can we get that apart from the streaming services and the Disney channels?
Yeah, I think Instagram is so important, because so many young girls are on Instagram, and I actually had to check myself when I went through my followers, and I was like, I'm following not enough black women that actually inspire me and I know about. Because your feed, when you're scrolling, that stuff is going in your head. That stuff goes into your subconscious. So if you're following people like there's loads of black makeup artists, I follow loads of black models, I follow loads of black YouTubers, to make sure that I'm seeing myself on my phone, on my social media, because you actually create your own algorithms, like the things you follow, the hashtags you follow. I follow hashtags like Black Girl Magic now and stuff like that. I think it's so important. That's stuff I'll be talking about on my page, on how to start seeing yourself and how to start loving yourself. You have to see it as well. So you've got to put in the work yourself, but you've also got to talk about it. We need to have these conversations more in our industry about the underrepresentation of black females, especially dark-skinned black females, because you always get the one token in the show. There's always like that token black character who's always got to be black, and every time they're replaced, they're not just like replaced with like not the same person. They're a different character, but they have to be black. And it's always that one. You can't mix it up. You can't have more than one. It's like that's too much.
Yeah.
So that's something that obviously needs to change in our industry, and I'm hoping that this movement now will be a part of that change. They have to start not just ticking boxes, one black person. It will have to be more than that. It has to change, and that's the only way the girls and females and males are going to start loving themselves more from a younger age. You have to, like, the social media and the media is so in our face now. Like, if you're not seeing yourself, then it's just not healthy. That's what I actually think. It's not healthy. It's really damaging for your mental health. And it damaged my mental health, not seeing myself on TV, in magazines, even on like gaming. I used to love playing like PS2. There was no black people. There was no black characters until like Grand Theft Auto, and even then,
it's crime. It's crime.
Yeah, it's crime.
Yeah. It's better you choose the scariest looking character.
Yeah.
Get you the most stars. Yeah, that's mad. But we want to big up like the actress who played Raven's mom in Dr. Raven. It's Takaya Crystal Kama. So I want to big her up for at least having contributed to you being able to see yourself growing up. So
absolutely.
yeah, she's an incredible actress as well. So but yeah, I was gonna say that before we move on, I just want to remind people that this episode is sponsored by KALUNGEM. KALUNGEM is my t-shirt company that I've started, and at KALUNGEM we believe that to be royalty, to feel like royalty, you have to be above cool, you know. So when people are giving you that wasi wasi, that wahala, that just nonsense, just be above cool and KALUNGEM, you know. So right now, you can find us on Instagram at KALUNGEM Clothing, and KALUNGEM is spelled KALUNGEM, and you can find a link where you'll be taken to a website to get, you know, yourself a t-shirt, a KALUNGEM t-shirt. And we've got the gold and white, and we're gonna start increasing, you know, the range, the variety after Corona stops being a pagan. So let's get back to talking to Michaela Blackburn, because, you know, I started this this podcast because I wanted to celebrate Ugandan culture. I wanted to explore Ugandan identity, and, you know, talking to Michaela right now, we know that there's, you know, complexities when it comes to Ugandan identity. And Michaela, you've taken us on this. You've definitely taken me on this incredible journey, you know, from your dad, you know, being adopted by I guess a white businessman. You told me off the podcast, and then, you know, a Kenyan woman, was a Kenyan woman, right? And
yeah,
then,
and he was an English lit teacher.
yeah, and oh, the granddad, the white granddad was English teacher. That's it. Yeah, so to then go from Kenya and then grown up in Britain, but there's still this need, this feeling, the desire to be connected to Uganda somehow. And I mean, I have it because I was born there, and I spent 10 years there. And then to hear that someone who left when he was about 2 years old still has this desire and this need to go there, just shows how, you know, your identity and your place of birth and your where your ancestry stems from is always attached to you. You know, it's always attached to you. And here we are speaking to someone who does, you know, your name wouldn't tell people that you're Ugandan, but we somehow ended up getting in touch and, you know, being connected. And here we are, you know, talking about Uganda and talking about your project becoming Michaela, which, you know, like you told us, is needed, is necessary. And I was also going to say that another thing that I know we can do as well as Black men, you know, because I think I want to make sure this goes beyond just lip service. And John Boyega, you know, talked about it in his speech. It does. We also need to contribute to, you know, empowering one another, but more specifically empowering the Black women in our lives, you know, because we don't understand that the things we say, and sometimes, you know, the way we behave, in fact, not even sometimes, all the times, the way we behave does affect how someone views themselves. You know, I told you about the story of, you know, myself and my brother potentially saying these offensive things to one of my sister's friends. And I'm sure that affected the way she saw herself. And for that, you know, I want to apologize for that, you know. So what do you think is a concrete thing that we as Black men in general can do to contribute, at least to supplement your becoming Michaela?
Yes, that's a really good question. I've been thinking about this for a while, actually. I think it's about it's all about lifting and even just telling other Black females that they're beautiful. Or I heard it from my dad, but other than that, like, my cousins never really said it. Not until now. It's not until now that when they've realised that like the whole light skin versus dark skin thing, that was a load of crap. It's now they're like, I hear my cousin call me beautiful, and my Black male friends call me a queen, and all that stuff like really, really helps. That's stuff I needed back then. I know that now. But that is stuff I wanted to hear back then. But a lot of it was so instead, a lot of back then was a degrading of Black women, and the name calling, and I used to be called like Black One. That was my like nickname, like, oh, Black One, or stuff like that. And like, that's, I don't know, that's just not anything. Like, I'd rather be shouting, "Yo, Queen!" That's what I wanted to hear. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's now what I find Black men calling me now. But as young girls, we need that for the whole process, as we should, as queens. We should be lifting our black queens and telling them they're beautiful, their souls are beautiful, and lifting them up as well. I think it's both ways, but also it's probably be more heavily weighed down the females just because of how society is, or how where males stand and where females are living. So I think it's about encouraging them, sharing that. My cousin's always sharing now my stuff. He's always posting it and uplifting me. It's all about uplifting for me personally. Yeah, I think that's my.
Yeah.
I think I've answered that.
Thank you. That's really good to know. And I really hope that the Ugandan men out there, or the men who listen to this Proper Ugandan podcast, you take notice. And I know I'll be taking notice. I'm working on that a lot more. Because I feel like we need to. It's
broken up.
Oh, really? I can see you. Can you see me?
I can see you, but I missed that whole bit.
Okay. Well, I don't mind repeating. I don't mind repeating it. So yeah. So I was saying that, that's good to know that what you just told us and how we can contribute to lifting you up. And I'm hoping that the male listeners of this podcast take note and work on that. And I know I'll be working on that a lot more. And I was gonna say as well, like, I feel like sometimes, especially what's going on right now, and I've been thinking about it recently, we can always sometimes end up thinking that this is the first time something's happened. We can end up thinking that you're the first person to, I don't know, put this is such a stupid example, but to put bread and butter together, when actually people have been doing it for years. And if you look back, you find people have been doing this. And I've been trying to do that a lot more, watching videos from, maybe the 60s, 70s and beyond, of Black people, especially, we always kind of like, I guess, head towards, or at least attracted to the American Black Power movement. But just that movement itself, the Black Power movement, and how that did create a lot of Black is beautiful. That did create the Black is beautiful slogans that came about. And I think it will do us a lot of good if we try to take bits from that, try to take inspiration from that, where they did remind each other that Black is beautiful. They did say Black power, and they didn't say it in a cynical way. Because when you're talking about, people calling you queen and calling each other kings and so on and so forth, I know sometimes I'm probably guilty of this, but we can end up being cynical and going, yeah, but like, okay, queen, it becomes ironic and we become hipsters.
Yeah.
And actually, in the same way that we've fallen for the whole thing of calling each other the N-word, or, calling each other ugly and so on and so forth, I think you can flip that and call each other beautiful. In fact, calling each other ugly when we're not. And then in the end, you start feeling like you're ugly. So how about we call each other queens and kings and beautiful, even if you're saying it in a cynical, ironic way, but you say it enough times that it will become true. And I'll start, believing it, and, and I'll carry myself differently, So I guess the point I'm making is we need to really look into history and take the good stuff that came out of that, people rocking their natural hair in the late 60s and 70s, people calling each other, Black King and Black Queens, and we need that right now. And I think it's necessary, and I feel like that's what your project Becoming Michaela is doing, and I see a lot of other people doing the same thing, and effort. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. And yeah, so I guess let's end on a fun little quiz.
Okay.
I hope you've been revising for this.
Oh gosh.
Oh God. Okay, I'm not gonna laugh yet, but yes, I hope you've been revising for this, because it can get funny. It can get funny. So all right. So
Okay.
this is the Proper Ugandan quiz with Michaela Blackburn, and here we go. Okay, question number 1. All right. Question
For the
number 1.
quizzes, just like
Don't worry, there's no prize at the end of it. Okay. Name one Ugandan actor or actress. It could be anyone. You've named them already. You've worked with them.
Oh, okay. Who shall I name? Hector. Oh my gosh, what's Hector's last name? Oh my god.
Oh, you better hope she don't watch this.
Wait, I have to bring it up. I'm going to find it.
Do you want me to shame you? Do you want me to shame you by saying it?
Wait. I have to find it. Where's our chat? Pepper. No, she doesn't have it on
I'll
her
give you a clue.
thing.
Can I give you a clue?
It's L. It begins with L, right?
Yeah.
Lu. Not Luca. LU. It's LU, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll give you half a mark. It's Lunkuse. Pepta Lunkuse. Yeah. Okay. Wow, we got off a nice start. You better hope Pepta doesn't watch this. Sorry, Pepta. I tried to help her.
Sorry, Pepta. I do know it. I promise. I just forgot.
Okay. All right. Name one country that borders Uganda. This one's gonna be easy.
Rwanda.
Dope. Okay. Question 3. How many colors are in the Ugandan flag?
It's right above you.
I know. So it
Above
should
your
be
head.
easy. Yes.
There's 3 colors.
Okay. All right. Dope.
Oh, no, 4. It's white. I mean, you forgot the white.
Oh yeah. Okay. So there we go. Now you got that right, but I have to change my answer because I wrote 3 as well. I didn't count.
I should have wrote the quiz. I'm writing this quiz.
You can say 5. So we both
What's
should
the
not
other
have
colour?
written this quiz. Well, there's grey on the crane. There's grey on the crane.
Oh yes.
So yeah, so you could say 5. So I guess people have learned something new today because I wrote 3.
4, 5.
Oh,
Have your
exactly.
pick.
There we go. All right. So question 4. What's the name of Uganda's main airport?
I actually don't know. I've never been, so I'm just gonna say Kampala.
I mean, no, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. Kampala International Airport. No. It's Entebbe. Yeah, and Entebbe actually means chair. It means chair. I don't know why. I need to find out why they named it Entebbe. I don't know why. But it just means chair. But okay. So final question. Question 5. Uganda, as you know, Uganda had a brutal dictator by the name of Idi Amin. But what was the name of the actress who played his wife in The Last King of Scotland?
No.
I give you those mastermind questions. I give you those questions where you're like,
wow.
I know you're gonna ask.
Do you know what? I'm so bad with names. As an actress, I actually it's one of the things that if you ask me people's names, I'm like, I don't know names. I know faces. Yeah. What's her name? I can see her face in my head.
I'll give you a clue. It begins with the letter K. The first name begins with the letter K.
Okay. It's not ringing any bells. K.
3, 2, 1. Kerry Washington.
Oh, I was gonna say what? How did I not get?
Exactly. How did you not know that? Come on.
I knew that. I told you I'm bad with names.
I mean, you didn't even know Pepta's last name, so I forgive you with that one.
It says it all.
Exactly. I forgive you. No worries. Okay, so I think with that one you got, I would say 1.5 out of
half a point.
5. Yeah, 1.5. 1.5 out of 5. But that's all right. 1. The whole point of this podcast
is that the worst I've had?
No, it's the second time I've done it, and it is the worst. So you're second and you're the last. So however way you want to look at it, you're second and you're last. So, but I've only done it twice. So, okay. So let's end with the fact of the week. I don't know if you were able to get a fact of the week. If you weren't, that's fine. Did you manage to get one?
Yeah, so I found out about some of the politics in Uganda, and obviously
Okay.
in England we have. Sorry, actually no. In America they have like terms. They have a certain amount of terms they can do. Where
Mm.
obviously the president of Uganda, there's no term, so you can just reign for and be president for as long as you keep getting elected. It's just you keep it forever if people love you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's really interesting to know,
Okay.
to find that out. Yeah, and I also found out that I think it was 38% of the like politicians are women as well.
Oh
So that was
wow,
quite
that's
interesting.
oh wow, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah. Speaking of
Actually,
like,
no, carry on, you
say,
carry on.
no, no, no. Say that again. Say that again.
I was saying because I know that Rwanda has the highest female what's the word? Female population, like politicians in the whole world,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
far from us. So that's why I found out that fact. I was doing more research. I was like, oh wow, women in Africa, like they're really like in there.
Yeah, they do bits. I mean, the Minister of Health in Uganda is a woman, and she's obviously been in charge of
You're
this.
gone.
Oh no, you're gone. Can you maybe stay still for a bit or move around?
Mm.
Oh, you be
Can
back.
you see me?
I can hear
Like
you.
that?
You're good. Yeah.
Is that better?
Yes, 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 yes. That's better. That's better. That's
Okay,
better. Okay,
cool.
so all right. Well, my fact of the week is that apparently Uganda's population in 2020, according to
Mhm.
worldometer.info, is 45.7 million. I mean,
Wow,
it was 42 million just 2 years ago, so it's climbing up pretty quickly,
that's a boom.
isn't it? And then obviously after this quarantine, it's going to be a madness after this. God damn.
Massive.
Oh, the Rona
Yeah.
babies. And then word of word, word of the day. Did you manage to get word of the day?
Yeah, well, I actually got a phrase.
Okay,
It's in Swahili.
that's good. That's
My
fine.
dad taught me it. So
Okay.
I'm not very good. I'm gonna read it 'cause I'm not very good at speaking without reading it.
Hmm.
Um, so uh, nipo kwa aligiako.
Ooh, nipo kwa alijiako. What does that mean?
I'm here for you.
Ah,
I thought
that,
it was a perfect phrase.
oh, that's such a good phrase, and I think it goes nicely with my word of the day, which is olugendo, and olugendo is Luganda for journey, which is great. I think it goes
Nice.
nicely if you're going on this journey with
Yeah.
someone, which actually we did today. We went on this incredible journey, and you went on this journey with me, and I went on this journey with you as well. So yeah, I just want to say, obviously, thank you so much. Like, I appreciate you taking the time out, and being open and vulnerable, like to a practical stranger, pretty much. And so thank you so much. thank you, thank you so much for being a great
Thank you.
great person to speak to, just in general. And good luck. Remind people how they can get in touch with you, especially becoming Michaela.
Yeah, so on Instagram, it's becoming.michaela. And find all my information there, and you'll see posts every Wednesday and Sunday.
Okay, brilliant. Fantastic. Now, before we go, I just want to remind the Proper Ugandan podcast listeners that my debut play, Asata Taught Me, is still available for you to read. If you just Google Asata Taught Me on Amazon or whatever online bookstore you have, you'll be able to find it. And Asata Taught Me is the beautiful story that inspired by the FBI's most wanted woman, Assata Shakur, who is currently in Cuba, living in exile, where she's been for the past 30 plus years, having escaped a life imprisonment term for a crime that she is confident that she did not commit. She was accused of shooting a state trooper in New Jersey during a shootout. and she ended up being sentenced to life imprisonment, where she was in solitary confinement. She ended up in men's prisons. She ended up sharing the cell with a white supremacist. You know, she was treated like hell, really, and she just had this vision. Her grandma told her this story, this dream that she had, that she won't be there forever, and she carried out that dream and carried out that vision. And through whatever means she did, she will never tell anyone, but she managed to escape the prison sentence and make her way to Cuba, where she's been living for the past 30 plus years. So I imagine a friendship between her and a young Cuban male who wants to live the American dream. So check it out. It's on Amazon. It's when the bookstores open, it's in Waterstones. Is it Forbes? No, Foils. Foils. So yeah, so check it out. That's Asata, Assata, taught, past tense of teach, and me. So yeah, so and also one last reminder that my debut album as well, Katugende, is available now on all good music stores. Just search Kalungi Fresh and you'll be able to find it. So, Michaela, thank you
Mate,
very much.
you've got so much. I'm just listening like, wow.
Listen, we gotta hustle, and I've got to put into practice this business degree. You know, so, yeah. So we just gotta hustle, and I'm obviously gonna keep supporting, and please do stay in touch and send me messages if you need me to help in any way possible, and I'll do my best to do so. So thank you very much. I don't know if you're still there.